Hey guys, welcome back. Eric's UK here with another vid. A couple of days ago, I had a comment on my video, which was a video response for the DM is not a storyteller. And this comment was by, hopefully pronouncing this correctly, Bonadan Alloy, who has given me a nice couple paragraphs here, which is awesome. Thank you. If you get the glare in my glasses, it's because the screen's on, so I can actually read this. And I'll do each paragraph separately because I thought this is actually quite good to do a very quick response. So Bonadan Alloy starts off saying, "There's no story. You're making the story while you play. The DM has a bigger chunk of the story under their control and sets the scene, but the players bounce off of those elements to generate the story. The DM should likely tell the players, hey, this is a story about a Dark Lord you have to defeat. The main thrust is you take this ring across the land to destroy it, if it is a written plan from the beginning. If it's a sandbox, his preferred game, the DM maybe throws a couple plot hooks at them every week between games, builds out more content based on what they've done and what's happened." First paragraph. Okay, great. And this comes back to whether you like a standard roleplay campaign or whether you like the sandbox one. I would disagree respectfully with the comment that if you've got, he uses, sorry, I'm using the term he, I hope that's correct. Hey, this is a story about a Dark Lord you have to defeat. The main thrust is you take the ring across the land to destroy it. Using what we like to do in the role-playing community of using the Lord of the Rings as a basis. If that was the basis of my campaign, I wouldn't tell the players. Just like, unless there was something very strange about my campaign or very different, I wouldn't tell them anything. Normally what we do with our campaigns is we create a little Facebook chat or a Facebook group where we can put pictures and we can put details and we can just talk about it. Normally what I put up is a introduction. Something, if it's relevant, I put down like the things, how many point buy we're doing, whether anything is restricted or whatnot, but the last campaign I tried to run before the lockdown, I'd sent out things saying that the characters had each received a letter, a summons to the reading of a will. The characters didn't know one another and they'd never heard of the person in the will, but apparently they had been invited to the reading. And I left that to the players to decide why their characters were going to go, whether it was money, interest, maybe I am related to this person, whatever. They could come up with why they were going. This was just the hook that got them together. Oh, I'm being attacked by a cat. Not right now, darling. And from there, when they turn up, we started the campaign. The only time I would do any different is if it was something like a nautical campaign. Say I was basing something on Pirates of the Caribbean. Then obviously characters need to be built around that particular concept. So I would need to inform them that this was the sort of campaign we were doing. Otherwise, I wouldn't bother. One of the reasons for that is I think it takes away some of the surprise elements. And I don't mean that in a GM trying to just throw out surprise. I mean, for the flow of the story. Also, there are certain campaigns that kind of give away slightly too much in what they are. Bear with me. Will you shush? For example, Pathfinder had two campaigns, adventure paths. One was Mummy's Mask, which was set in their equivalent of ancient Egypt. And it involved tombs and what have you, and considering kind of the fantasy version of Egypt, it's undead, and it's undead, and so the characters build everything around the undead. But this is kind of a given on that particular one because it starts off saying that you are authorized tomb raiders. They send you in to get through the traps and everything of their ancient tombs, and so you kind of go with that. The other one was called Giant Slayer, something like that. but the concept of that was kind of given away in the title. So you had Rangers, you went for Orcs, Giants as your favourite enemies. You'd build characters around that particular thing, even though it was a normal campaign and didn't really need to be done that way. It gave it away. And that's one of the things I don't like. Unless you need to tell the players what the basis of at least the intro to the campaign is, they don't need to know, because that's spoiling their enjoyment as well as your own. But if it works, then it's one of these things where gaming groups are very different based on what they enjoy. Obviously, our group prefers that. So the second paragraph. This isn't semantics, this is the way you should learn to play. If you as the DM write a plot and expect the players to do X, Y and Z, you're going to have a bad time unless the players are on board from the get-go. To this end, you can set the expectation before game begins as to what you want to do and see if they're down for it. If you don't mind a set plot goal endgame, go for it. Bonner Dan Alloy, find a low-level sandbox evolves into a much more fun and fulfilling beast to everyone involved when the players generate the content we use to build the story. And that's great, that's awesome. That's how a sandbox campaign works. If you're into sandbox campaigns, then that's fantastic. As a player, I don't like them. I kind of feel lost. Whereas I like to turn up to a gaming session and tell the story. And I've even had GMs in the past say that how much, blow my own trumpet here, how much they like having me in the gaming group, because I'm there to tell the story. It doesn't matter that things are set out in progression. For me, part of the role-playing experience, part of the enjoyment, is to tell that story, see what's happening and run with it. You can still deviate, you can still do your own thing, but you need to be prepared to accept that you are telling that story, which is kind of what he's saying. And my players, thankfully, are in that particular group. The one time I tried, because you've got to try these things, a sandbox campaign, which was several years ago for Pathfinder First Edition, and I didn't enjoy it, and the players didn't really enjoy it. I think they probably felt the same as me. They felt lost, or they didn't have a drive to get anywhere. And these are experienced players. Most of these people have been playing for 20, 30 or more years. Some of the newer players have only been playing for the last 10 or 12 years or several years, whatever. And they've thankfully, in a way, I've got a group that feels exactly the same way as I do. That having a set adventure path sort of road, even one where you can wibble and wobble and go where you want and do your own things, and you can even throw scenarios in based on what the players do, is good. Where he puts on here, this isn't semantics, this is where you should learn to play. I disagree on that. I think every time that you introduce new players to a role-playing game, especially something like Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder, you should be doing the ABC path. I think it's a lot easier for them to get their head around. And from there, if they decide that they prefer something a bit more sandboxy, then absolutely great. But I think you teach people to roleplay by having the story-driven element. But he's right in what he says also further on here, that you've got to set the expectation. The group's got to know what they're getting themselves into before they start. And I agree with that. You don't want to run an ABC style adventure path for people that want to sandbox. In that situation, I would say, well, someone else needs to take over the GM seat for a while, and I'll take a back seat. But I just wanted to throw this out. It was nice to get a good chunky response, and I just felt it was probably easier to explain or do a response through this little video. So I want to thank Bonner Dan Alloy for their comment. It was great to have. And thank you everybody else for watching this video. And again, it's a discussion. You've got a comment on that, drop it below, or do a video response, what have you. If you've enjoyed the vid, please put a thumbs up and subscribe. And and I will look forward to seeing you in the next vid. So until then, guys, take care. Good gaming.